Hello, everybody. This is John Marola from Keeping It Real Section 5 Football. This is our 10th episode. And today's show, I'm very, very excited. We were just in the back room, us four, and, you get four coaches together, start talking, and it just goes on and on and on. So, anyways, on my far, far, far right is my partner, Section 5 Hall of Famer, Paul Brigandy. Paul, thanks.
Glad to be here, John.
And next to him is today's episode is going to be the LeRoy Cal-Mum rivalry and how that all kind of came about, and as far as the coaches and the communities and all that. Next to Paul is former LeRoy head coach Jim Laemlein. Jim, how you doing? Thanks for being here. And next to me is the long time coach at Cuddling Mumford, Mike Monticelli. Mike, thank you for being here.
Thanks for inviting me.
And before we get started, Paul's going to start with a couple questions. Just want to remind everybody, make sure you hit your subscribe button and hit the bell and the likes and take care of all that stuff for us. And it just keeps our channel growing and just helps out a real lot for us. Hey, Paul.
All right. Well, the first question I want to ask to both of you gentlemen is, how did you decide teaching and coaching careers to get into? And was there something else, if you didn't teach or coach, that you were also interested at that time in your life? And I don't care which one wants to answer it first.
You're right.
But, go ahead.
I think we played. Most of us have been active in sports since we were little kids, and it seemed like a great thing to stay involved with that. Our coaches that we had in high school were great people. I mean, not only great coaches, but great people. And they kind of influenced us and helped us out along the way to get where we were. And, it's just it was a great way to hopefully develop some great people down the road. And it was just a lot of fun, and it was a great way to go.
Well, I know you went to a great physical education school, Cortland, and you got your start through in the education program there.
Right. I was so happy to see them win the Division III national championship this year, and it's they're not only a good football school, they're a good athletic school. They're good in everything, and they just the relationship we had with the professors and that was awesome. They were normal people. You go to other places and the professors talk down to you, and ours were colleagues basically. And it was just a great start, and keep it going.
Was there anything else that you thought about during your college time that if you didn't get into teaching that you had an interest in?
Well, it was funny because that was the late 70s, early 80s, and that was when schools were downsizing and cutting teachers and all that. And my father used to, Jesus, get into something with computers. You got to get in. I still can't even turn a computer on. And, all my buddies who didn't get teaching jobs became cops. And, I don't know if that would have happened, but I would have found something.
Oh, great. How about you, Coach Monticelli?
Well, my dad never graduated high school. He was a World War II guy. So education, a big deal in my family, growing up and being the oldest. I not that I was National Honor Society, but I always looked up to the teachers. And my parents said, whatever the teacher said, you make sure it happens, and when I went to college, I went to college in Kentucky to play baseball. Baseball is by far my long suit. And the advisor I had said, "Are you going back to New York State?" I said, "Yeah, that's my plan." They said, "Well, instead of being a PE teacher, number one, a health minor, why don't you flip it around? A health education was just, no longer a school nurse and so on." So came back into this area because my wife had one more year at Geneseo. So it's like, draw a circle, how far do you want to drive? And and it also was a downside. They were looking for teachers, so I hit it in 1971 at a good time to get into education. And in 71, and they were trying to, I got hired to replace the baseball coach, which never happened. And in 71, so we go back to intramurals now. There was no mods. So I coached my seventh grade homeroom and flag football. And then in 72, the head coach at the time, Frank Ruane, said, "Well, would you like to coach football?" Sure, I played football, you know. So 72, all of a sudden I graduated from seventh grade homeroom football to JV football,
Right,
and
advanced.
away we went with it. And, for 39 years, that's my story. I'm sticking to it.
Right. What was there anything else you were thinking about profession to get into at that time of your life?
Well, my dad was a carpenter, and he come home with, black and blue fingernails, and I don't want to do that. And I guess I enjoyed kids. You had neighborhoods, big neighborhoods. You played with teams. I guess I wanted to put my finger into sports, and other than being a carpenter and then coming home and taking your little league team out, this was hands-on, being a part of kids' lives, and so really no. I got into administration, AD stuff towards the end a little bit, but I really enjoyed being a classroom teacher, and I really enjoyed being coach.
Well, again, both of you and Coach Laemlein, you could probably answer this first. Who were some of your mentors as a young teacher, coach that helped you along the way, that you looked to for guidance, getting into the profession?
I've been very, very, very lucky to be around the people I've been with. I can just think back in my freshman year of high school, I went to Cardinal Mooney. I had Johnny's dad, Tony Marola, Ed Natopsky, and going back to Arcadia, Ben Giuseppe, Gene Johnson, Jeff Hibbard, Mike Lopa. I mean, they were great people. And then when I got into coaching, I was at Olympia with Ben was the athletic director, and my first job was football job was at Charlotte High School with George Graham, who's a Hall of Fame coach and just a great, great guy. And I've always been lucky to always be around some great people and some great leaders. And Don Santini was a great inspiration for me. He was a person I could always lean on. Dick Domenico from Albion, Warner Kleeman from Rush Henrietta. Those were guys you could always talk to, and they always had an answer for you.
You know who's another one that I know we'll have on, I believe, next week? Don Quinn. Didn't you do student teaching?
I
You did do student teaching with Don Quinn,
and
right?
Sammy Morbito and Ron Ruckel,
Right.
all guys
Great.
that were in the Hall of Fame. It was. I was, like I said, I was very, very fortunate to be surrounded by
That's
the
great.
people I touched base with.
They're all fantastic people. I know them. And Coach Monticelli, some of your early mentors?
Well, actually, I didn't have a very good mentor in high school as a coach in football, so I always wanted to not be that person. Number one. Number two, I paid an awful lot of attention to anybody that was talking about football. I was the quiet guy, just sucking it in like a sponge, And even through some success, my wife said, "Why are you going to this clinic?" I said, "Because I want to listen to this person, Or I might read somebody's basketball coach book." I said, I was always a firm believer if somebody was successful in the sport, it happens to be that sport. It's how they handle people, how they handle their team. And so I guess I was, really there was a lot of people. Bill Mapley that I took over in front of, or behind. And Frank, he was a great people person, how to handle. Frank Ruane was a X and O's, how to organize a day. I mean, I get a lesson plan. There was no, and don't go off script. This is JVs. I mean, he handed it right down. So I learned how to how to plan, which helped me in a way when I was head coach at varsity in the sense, well, this is the general plan. But other than that, I'll see you in 45 minutes, da 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 da. But that's how, and what you learn from talking to people. Buddy Sims was a great, Buddy with all his idiosyncrasy. he's a great football guy, and he paid just, it's like E.F. Hutton.
Yeah, yeah,
You know,
yeah.
if somebody thought, hey, I just listen, So that was where I don't think anything's brand new. We all beg, borrow, and steal from
Yep.
somebody that said, well, I can use that.
Yeah, yeah.
That can fit in our program.
Mhm.
Or I should be doing that myself as a head coach.
Right.
So that's that.
Well, fantastic. I guess I want to get into this LeRoy Cal-Mum rivalry. And Coach Laemlein, you go from the head coach at Charlotte High School to LeRoy. And what is it as a young coach is the first thing they're telling you as you come into LeRoy about Cal-Mum?
When my first interview in LeRoy, first question they asked me, "What do you know about LeRoy?" I said, "I know you got beat Caledonia." And
Good way to keep your job.
yeah, exactly. And I was very fortunate. I walked into a great situation. I had some incredible players, and we were lucky enough to beat them my first year. And it was just, as I've told other people since they merged, every kid who plays high school football should be involved in a rivalry like that. I mean, it's not two schools that go against each other; it's two communities that play against each other. Um, I know people from years and years past. That's the game. If they're going to make any game all year, they're going to make that game. And it was just 1 week of the year and basically 2 hours of the whole year. You did whatever you had to do to beat Caledonia, and it was just a lot of fun.
And Coach Monticelli, the same question to you as when you get hired. What did you know about the rivalry and what was being said to you?
Well, I tell you, our JV games on a Thursday evening, you'd look around and there would be more people there than be at a lot of people's varsity games.
Mhm.
And that's the JV, Cal-Mum, LeRoy. I don't care if it was LeRoy or Caledonia.
Mhm.
So I dove into the deep end earlier than Jimmy did. But so I understood that though that was a week, that prep week for that game, you wanted to make sure everything, the T's were crossed, I's were dotted. Everything was taken care of. And then, I don't know if you set this thing up, but of course, Jimmy's first Cal-Mum game was my first LeRoy game in '88.
Mhm.
And he was gentle with me. He had a great team. And took pity on the kid up the street because the cupboard was a bit bare in '88. But it still shows his professionalism and really the professionalism of the two communities. That 51 weeks out of the year, it's great, but it's an intense week, and I think that's one of the things that doesn't happen anymore is it's community football.
Mhm.
And the leagues have gone by the wayside, and rivalries really dissipated because of numbers and enrollments and things, and that always used to be really what brought fall on for a school district. Is the excitement of football season and the communities, especially with a lot of your communities were right down the road. You do Route 5, and here's LeRoy, Caledonia, Avon, York down here. It was just Livonia, Geneseo. It was neighborhood football.
Well, I guess that's what I want to just lead into is, what's going on in both those two towns, the Cal-Mum, LeRoy. They're, combining now. And what led to a lot of those decisions? And is our numbers are both school districts' numbers declining that great? And what are some of the reasons?
Mike would be better at answering that now because he's still living in that area, but I know the enrollments are way down compared to what they were 25 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the big industries have gone or really downsized, and you're dealing with small schools, small villages where a lot of those parents worked in the cities, and small farms, and a lot of kids on the farm. Now it's big farms and big mechanization. Not a lot of kids. The numbers game I think, is hit everybody. You know, and out in the country areas, and all you have to do is look at the numbers of hyphenated programs now, and a lot of them, like Cal-Mum, us, Warsaw, Letchworth, Perry, big rivals as individuals. Now they merge.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody, you want to get the sport to survive whatever way you can, because if you lose the sport for a year, you'll never get it back.
Right.
That's the low hanging fruit of the tree.
Yep.
They'll pull that right off the table, and it's gone. You'll never get it back. And kids don't. They won't know what they're missing, and communities, parents really don't know either.
Mm-hmm.
Both of you, did you have a lot of 2, 3 sport athletes on your teams back? Because yes, I think that's becoming a rarity too.
Absolutely. Back then it was, okay, I'm playing football this fall. Boom. Football ends. I'm either going in the gym to play basketball or down the wrestling mats. Spring, if you don't do baseball, you do track. And for whatever reason, I think it's kind of coaching. Some coaches thought that a lot of these kids, by specializing and playing only one sport, they'd be much more successful. They'd get college scholarships and all that stuff. And they've certain sports have really taken numbers away from other programs, and it's kind of sad because they're only in high school one time, play everything, have fun, and a lot of people don't agree with it, I guess.
No, unfortunately, they don't.
What?
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, last week when we had Bobby Bates on, we were having the Aquinas McQuaid, and these rivalries. I happened to play at Aquinas, coach at Aquinas, and we played McQuaid and had that rivalry. And we were talking earlier, about growing up. Myself, son of a coach from Caledonia, my mother from LeRoy, and I was saying, going to. I remember when I was 3, 4, 5 years old, going to the Cal-Mum LeRoy game, and it's 5, 8 deep all the way around, and people coming with their ladders. And the first time I remember just saying, "What do they got ladders for?" Well, so they could see the game, and I was like, "Wow." It's just I remember stuff like that, and just how big and how special it really, really was. And it's just something about how it's not here anymore, but we still like to talk about it.
So true. I want to ask Coach Monticelli about you were at the forefront of concussions, and how did you get involved in that? I know you later on spoke to Congress. We hear so much more about the knowledge of concussions, but you were right there in the beginning, and what attracted you to that concern and to lead the charge?
Well, I went to a clinic, national clinic, I think it was, and I think there was a medical group at the University of Pittsburgh spoke and talked about this software and stuff that was like, baseline this and this testing. I'm like, whoa. I said, hey, we should be doing this.
Mm-hmm.
So I took good notes, grabbed everything off their table I could grab, and brought it back to my superintendent, who happened to be an old football guy. And I pled my case. He said, "Hey, let's make it work." So thankfully, I didn't have any techie skills, but my tech people set the lab up and the testing procedures up. Now we're dragging kids out of class and stuff like that. But at the same time, Denny Freeze on the national level with athletic directors put together a Section 5 concussion committee and tapped me to be on that. And I think because that time my football background and then ushering in one of the first, especially the first small school that was able to negotiate the handling of the testing procedures. He called and said, "Would you want to go to?" I said, "Oh, do I want to?" "Sure." I said, "Well, my district let me go." Plane flight, hotel, da, 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 da. And I threw it out there. Go for it, And I said, well, and it was so eye opening. First of all, what opened my eyes as much as anything, regardless of some of the medical people, was two young ladies that were there that spoke on their concussion injuries, and they were soccer players.
Mm.
And I have a cousin on my wife's side. She's had 2 concussions in power volleyball and college volleyball, so it put a face on it's not football problem. And then when there was question and answer from the congressman, and the questions that were asking me were from like grandparent questions, parent questions.
Mm-hmm.
I said, "Whoa, they're paying attention to this." And I followed up on it afterwards through some stuff, and this really started rolling because they felt it was a need, and then the districts started to come around too as they started to figure out how to manage it within their districts,
Right.
and then it's not only field stuff, it's the education piece of it, which was a little early tough sell. Actually, it was a tough sell to parents because some of the parents wanted their kids to play. If the child didn't have a broken ankle or hey, how come he's not playing?
Right.
Well, he's in concussion protocol. What's that?
Yeah.
Right.
What do you mean?
Education.
Automatic 2 weeks and then test in. So the parents had to buy in, and that took a bit. And the teachers had to buy in because now you had to have special education programs. But, now it's down the road and it's become, the buzzword, and when we're talking about not only playing a good game, but playing it safely.
Making a safer game.
Because we all played back in the days of what's your girlfriend's name and how many fingers.
Get your bell rung.
That's but that's a long answer to your short question.
Well, very good. Both of you two have had illustrious careers, long time coaches, at both being a head coach and an assistant. What advice would you give to the listeners that are just getting into the coaching profession about the head coaching position and the assistant position, going on to when they get into this type field?
Being a head coach, you got to be all in. It's not a September to November 1st job. It's unfortunately it's year round, and get to know your kids and their families, and maybe in the middle of January you're talking to the kid about his math scores or his English scores or whatever. You gotta be all in every facet of the kid's life, and you got to keep learning. Mike talked about clinics and all that stuff. You go to those. If you pick up one thing, it was worth going.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what it's like now with a lot of the coaches, but we had different things within Section 5 where we met with coaches, and one guy got up and talked, and you picked his brain, and You might just call somebody up. I mean, I know if I would have called Mike and said, "Hey, you want to get together and talk about off tackle play or something," he would have done it in a heartbeat. And there's some great people out there that have a wealth of knowledge to share with people.
What about the assistant role? Some of these younger coaches getting involved with the sport.
I've been an assistant now for about 8 years, or God, more than that, because with you for the last 15 years, and as I said, I've been at both ends of the spectrum. When the principal or the AD comes walking on the field, I know they're not looking for the assistants. they're looking for the head coach, and if you're gonna disagree with the head coach, you do it privately in the office after practice or whatever. You don't do it in front of kids or even other coaches, and you do it in a way, hopefully, that you're not trying to question everything. You're trying to, hey, we might have a better way to do a certain thing, and it's a fun thing. But you got to remember, you are the assistant. Head coach got the final say, and at certain times it's non-discussable.
Mm-hmm. And Coach Monticelli, the same question to you. What advice would you give to young head coaches and young men getting in as an assistant on a staff?
Well, playing off, because my memory is short, playing off Jim's assistant coach's piece of it is, you're doing the same thing as the head coach. And just on a knockdown level, but you're going to have parent stuff, and whatever your head coach philosophy is you got to understand it and carry it through, because you can't be off track of what the program's track is. And I guess to kind of mix both of them together, I always felt I was like the team psychiatrist. 75% of the time, and 25% I was the football coach. I want to coach football, and you at both levels, you got so many kids that have girlfriend problems, parent problems. The one parent family, and not that it's wrong, because a good one parent is better than two parents, but it's one parent. That one parent might be working and it's coming home to an empty house for a while. There's so many things that so many hats that you have to wear, and you really can't learn that game in 3 or 4 years. If you're going to get into coaching, you buy into it for a while, a long while, and do the kids justice, and the sport justice, and we all made mistakes, and we learned from them. We didn't make them again, and I think that's why we became older and wiser, because we navigated those things when we were young. And I guess that's as big as a head coach. If you're the head coach, surround yourself, number one, with good teachers, especially in the areas that you aren't very strong in, and uh, make it fun for them so they don't get burned out. I worked hard on the weekends. I let my coaches let them have the weekend, with their families, and I think that made them come in Monday through Friday fresh, and really want to get with coaching and with the kids.
Oh, very good. Great advice. The last question I have to both of you, and I know, Coach Laemlein, you're finishing up coaching track. Where do you go from there? This will be the last sport that you are actually coaching, and what are your plans non-coaching?
I'm buying seasons tickets to Syracuse games. You and I are going to pick out the best Friday night game. That's where we're going to go. And
what about me?
And we might pick you up.
Thanks.
And just I still enjoy the game and all that. It's changing, and you want to see the sport that you loved and coached for so many years get better and better and better. And I hope it continues in that direction. But I'm gonna do what I want when I want, and whatever.
Time is important.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, I haven't had a fall off in a lot of years, so it'll be fun.
And Coach Monticelli, could you tell the listeners what you're doing with yourself since you got out of retirement and coaching? Where are you now?
Well, I volunteered at Fairport for a couple of years, and I just come in. I just wanted to be a teacher. Just give me a D lineman,
Mm-hmm.
I did that for a couple of years in Caledonia for a couple of years, and it was like, okay, there's enough head coaches out there, and they don't need me, or so on. So my golf game didn't get better, but I played more of it. I always said fall golf was the best time to play, and we travel more, and I got 10 grandkids, 6 of them are in the Victor district, and we talk about 3 sport athletes. I got a granddaughter that plays 3 sports at Victor. We were on vacation together, which was the trick in itself. And I said, I'm taking my pop's hat off and putting my coach hat on. And I said, it's really great that you're playing 3 sports. I said, at a big school, I said, but also remember it, don't get overwhelmed with it. But you know how important that is. That there you are. You're involved in 3 sports in a big school, a district that's strong in the sports. So that's in fact that go in for some surgery in a couple of weeks, but in 2 weeks, these 2 weeks are filled in with, okay, I got to go to this lacrosse game, and I got to go to here and here. I got dates all in there. So, and then when I get out, then some more of them. So that's of course, my wife weaves in. Well, where are we having supper tonight? Okay, dear.
Yep.
So that's the fun part that I'm still healthy enough to enjoy the family and travel and do some of those things. As Jim said, just kind of, okay, let's go do it,
That's fun. That's fun.
Now, I was just going through some things the other day here, and we were talking earlier about at Cal-Mum you were there for how many years?
I coached for 39. I was there for 44.
Okay, because that's what I got down. I had 39 years. I believe that as a head coach then. Correct?
Head coach for 23.
Okay. It has some stuff in here that kind of really was interesting. Um, your overall record, 186 of the 50. That's
You've been,
pretty
you've been doing some digging.
Yes,
Doing some research.
and
You've been in the library too long.
No, me please. No way. 4 state championships.
5 if you count 92 we were sports writers.
Oh, yep.
Like everybody else was at the time.
Yep.
And then 3, 4, and 5 on the field.
Mm-hmm.
And 03.
Okay. And I have 10 sectional championships. And something that really, I held this everything's unbelievable. You won, at one time, you won 21 straight sectional games. Think about that.
There was a long stretch there. I had great kids. It's all about, sometimes it's like the smart coach just sits back and lets them play.
Yeah.
You fill the round hole with the right peg.
Yep.
And then let it go.
Yep. It always works.
Make sure they get on the bus.
Yes.
Make sure the bus driver's there on time.
Right.
And one other tip, when you get to your opponent's field, make sure you get your 2 biggest, toughest kids off the bus first. We used to do that, and actually George taught me that one when we were in Olympia. Whenever you went to an away game, get your 2 big kids and get them off the bus first, because everybody's looking at, all right, here they come, and you put your big horses up.
Well, you also make sure you come late too.
Oh, definitely.
That's why they're always on the field when you get off. Like, what? I don't have a pre-game.
Where are they?
Definitely. We good?
I'm good.
Okay, I got to go over a couple things here first that have to do this every week. First things first is I got to thank you two, for being here. I really, really, really appreciate it. I really do. Just great listening to guys in the communities. Besides Fairport and ER, I think the community thing is just it's really something. And I remember, like I said, when I was growing up, being a kid, going through that, and that week is different. If you're in LeRoy, if you're in Cal, that week is different, and it's special. It really was special times, and it's just like I said, it's a little saddening that we don't have that anymore. But we just do what we got to do. Next, our next episode, it'll be out in a couple weeks. Will be our Fairport rivalry, and that'll be Coach Quinn from who the guy's just a living legend in my eyes. Him, Don Santini, my father. I mean, those are the guys that when I was growing up, those are the guys that were in my eyes, and we're gonna have them. And then after that, we have something special just kind of popped up.
Well, you got Dave Lanning coming in.
Oh, I forgot Dave. I'm
Yep.
sorry, Dave. I'm sorry. Yep, from Fairport, Dave Lanning. He'll be here. And actually, he played. We were talking about before. He played for Quinn over at ER. So that's pretty amazing in itself. After that, the following episode, we just kind of put this one together. Is we are going to go live, and it's going to be the first game of the year, and we are going to be at Irondequoit High School, and we're going to do like a 20-minute pregame, a halftime, and like a 20-minute, half-hour after the game interview with coaches, players, and Irondequoit is playing Eastridge. So that's like the intertown rivalry itself that we're still trying to stay in line. I talked to Danny Victor yesterday, and he was just tickled pink as far as having us come out there. And, like we said, just making Section 5, giving it some juice, giving us, a little something.
And Dan Victor's going to be a guest.
Yes. Yep. Dan will be a guest. The time after that, we have all these, and we're only on once every 2 weeks, but after that, we're going to have Kyle Fenn from Rydell Sports, and Kyle does all the equipment, sure, for just about everybody in Section 5. And he's going to come in and sit down with us and go through their new apparel and what they got going on. And that's always changing. We were talking about the concussions earlier, with helmets, shoulder pads, everything. Just how the kids have, the knee pads aren't even over their knees anymore.
Making the game safer.
Yes, totally. And that'll get us, taping-wise, that'll get us until the end of June. And then after that, I'm just going to go over some of our sponsors again. I haven't done that in a couple weeks. Our first sponsor, G Athletics, George Giordano. G runs camps. Actually, I don't even know if Paul knows this one. He gave me a call. He wants to do a little promotional type of thing in June with us on air, talking about that's a great time for his camps.
West Side Camp.
The West Side Camp, any other camps that are going on. Speaking along those lines, I was telling people I work up at Northeast, used to be the old Charlotte High School, and one of my good friends, we work up there, who played ball, Ronnie Crawford. He came up to me this week and said, "Hey, James Cook got a camp going over at Kearney on July 8th?" I said, "No, I didn't hear about that."
Buffalo Bills.
Buffalo Bills, yes. And they're going to have a one-day camp up at Kearney. It's free. It goes from 1 p.m. until 5 p.m. And James, I guess, in their website, they have, he's having, some other of the Bills coming in. But I said to Ronnie, thank you for letting me know that, because that's how we get the information out. We don't hear everything that goes on. And I just want to mention him as far as, getting, let me know that and letting us know that so we can get it out to the people and let them understand, that there are camps out there. They're free.
Did they say dates and times yet for that? Or?
July 8th. from 1 until 5 p.m. Bishop Kearney High School. Okay, so thank you, Ronnie, for that. Um, Along with that, he also is one of our sponsors. Ronnie runs Under the Radar Security. If anybody's looking for security as far as their business or private, Ronnie does a great job, and he's been doing it for years and years. So at the end of the shows, we always have our sponsors and the phone numbers. If you're interested in anything like that, please give them a ring. And during the season, now we've talked about before, which we'll bring up right now, is during the season, we're going to be up at Premier Sports. And we are going to talk about the previous games of the week, how those games turned out, the upcoming games of this week, how who's playing who and where the games and what to look out for. And at the end of our show, we are going to give out a Player of the Week award. And we're just going to do that. Another sponsor we have is Howie over at Sticky Lips. Howie's been nice enough to give us some coupons for the young man, gift certificates, so he can bring him and his family up to Sticky Lips, and a little something there for the kids to enjoy. A couple after that is Rochester Jewelry and Tech. That is my niece, Brooklyn. Her husband, Toga, runs that store. They own that store. It's over in Greece on Mount Reed. It's over almost across the street from Wegmans in Greece. And actually, he'll be starting that up full time next week. So anybody, if you're over at Wegmans or whatever, just stop over there, tell Toga that you're listening to the show, and he'll hook you up with anything you really need. So, and the last one I have is Making a Splash. And this guy, we all know, it's my brother Dan. He runs a pool service in the summertime, pool liners. And he's mentioned to me that anybody that mentions the show, he'll give them $100 off on the cost of the liner. So that's what we're doing with now. We got a lot of stuff going on. Definitely looking forward to doing the Irondequoit Eastridge game live. That'll be our first one, and definitely looking forward to it. It'll be a lot of fun. And that's all I have. You good?
I'm good.
Coach, you good?
I'm good now.
Thank you for being here, Len. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. 1, 2, 3.
Keeping it real,
Section 5 football.
Good night. Have a great night.